So as we know, the probable cause affidavit for the arrest of Richard Allen was being withheld by the prosecution as it was under seal until yesterday when a special judge, Fran Gull, ruled on the release of the document with redactions. The PCA is an 8-page document, and we received 7 of those pages with all witnesses redacted. I have quite a few issues with this document, not only in the way that it is written, but the nature of the evidence that was used to put Allen behind bars. I find it to be subjective, and in the words of Allen's attorneys, flimsy, boring, and disappointing. They certainly were not bluffing when they made those remarks. I was hoping this affidavit would include some objectivity and factual evidence, but all we really got were inconsistent witness statements from a group of juveniles and other redacted witnesses, and subjective opinions of investigators that were frankly unsubstantiated by facts. The bullet evidence is shaky and subjective, as conceded in the document, and it's frankly written in a very word salady manner. I think this information could have been presented in a much more concise and professional manner. The way the prosecutor chose to redact the document makes it a very difficult read. So I think the best way to deliver my analysis is by breaking down the evidence and focusing in on each piece or collection of statements or evidence, if you can call it that the state presents against Richard Allen. So in this video, I would like to discuss one of the witness statements that I have a major issue with, and we will call her the muddy and bloody witness. So with all that being said, let's see what the state has to say about this new alleged encounter.
Witness descriptions throughout the PC also point to Allen and where he parked his car not far from the crime scene. One witness reported seeing a man walking away from the area along a roadway with clothes that were muddy and bloody, and investigators believe that man is Richard Allen.
How much am I not getting here, or how much have I not heard, or is this what the state has?
Criminal defense attorney Benjamin Jaffe says if it seems like pieces of information are left out, that could be intentional.
As long as they put enough information in a probable cause affidavit to validate the arrest and charges such that a judge will hold the person, that they can meet that minimum threshold. They can choose to leave certain pieces of information out for public consumption.
What comes next? Jaffe says from a defense attorney's perspective, there's going to be a strong effort to challenge the forensic evidence and witnesses' ability to identify Allen.
Are there real faults in the way that this was pursued? Are there problems with the way these identifications are being made? Those are questions that have to be asked to really develop whether or not there's the ability to challenge this.
So let's ask those questions and let's pick this thing apart when it comes to this particular witness statement that's detailed on page 4 of the probable cause affidavit. It states investigators spoke with redacted witness who stated that she was traveling east on 300 North on February 13th, 2022. That's presumably a typo. They likely meant to say 2017. It's entirely unacceptable to have a typo like that in a document of this magnitude that's being used to arrest and jail someone, and apparently took 6 years to get to this point, that you issued this affidavit. This is unacceptable, frankly, and it adds to how poorly written this document is in its entirety. So anyway, this witness, she was traveling east on 300 North on February 13th, 2017, and observed a male subject walking west on the north side of 300 North away from the Monon High Bridge. The witness advised that the male subject was wearing a blue-colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. She further stated that it appeared he had gotten into a fight. Investigators were able to determine from watching the video from the Hoosier Harvest Store that the witness was traveling on County Road 300 North at approximately 3:57 p.m. So I have a few questions here. I have a couple questions for the witness and I have a couple questions for investigators. Let's start with the witness. So this individual, as she's traveling presumably driving east on 300 North, so that would be away from town and towards Highbridge. On 300 North, she observes a male subject walking west, so in the opposite direction on the north side of 300 North, away from the Monon Highbridge. So that would be on the other side of the street, while she's heading east and he's heading west. So advised that they were wearing a blue colored jacket and blue jeans. Fine. They also advised that they were, quote, muddy and bloody. My question here, how did you get a good enough look at this individual that you were able to differentiate not one, but two different substances on this subject? How do you know the difference between blood and mud? How do you know the difference between a blood-like substance and what's actually blood? I would argue that this witness does not have enough information to declare that what's presumably reddish substance is blood. Where you were passing him, he was on the other side of the street, and you were able to not only take in all the information about the clothes he was wearing, but also you could state as fact that he was muddy and bloody. She further stated that it appeared he had gotten into a fight. How? Did he have a black eye? Was his face all cut up? In that case, why didn't you call the police? If there was an accompanying call to authorities, this person might need help or this person looks suspicious, did you pull over and ask if he needed help? Is that how you got such detailed descriptions? Or is this all from driving past him at, I don't know, around 40 miles an hour? This witness's encounter leaves a lot of questions to be asked. And then this next part is even more confusing, where it says investigators were able to determine from watching the video from the Hoosier Harvest Store that the witness, Muddy Bloody, was traveling on County Road 300 North at approximately 3:57 p.m. How did investigators determine that the witness was driving on that road? Was it from identifying their vehicle? How? Was it a vehicle that resembles their vehicle? Or was it from a license plate? How, from watching the video, they were able to say that this witness was where they say they were? Okay, so this, let's just take that for what let's say, okay, maybe they did find the license plate on that vehicle and they were able to definitively say that. Then they should include it in the probable cause affidavit. Tell us how you got to that conclusion. If that is their vehicle traveling traveling east on 300 North, why didn't, and maybe they left this out, but did that camera at the Hoosier Harvest Store also captured the subject walking west on the north side of 300 North? Because the camera where Hoosier Harvest Store is on the north side of 300 North. So the subject would have walked right past the camera, all muddy and bloody. If that was evidence that was Richard Allen, they should have also seen that on the Hoosier Harvest Store video. If they were able to see the witness, why couldn't they see the subject? And this whole narrative is that he parked at CPS. He would have had to have passed, according to this witness, Hoosier Harvest Store. So why isn't he on the camera? He might be. They might have left it out. But you'd think that would be a pretty significant piece of information to include, because this whole thing is so weak. And maybe if there was CCTV footage that then the witness could identify as the subject they saw, or even can the witness identify Richard Allen in the lineup? That would be something that would prove what they're saying. Right here, there's just no evidence that what this witness is saying is true, besides investigators making that quantum leap by watching the video from that store that they are where they say they were at 3:57 p.m. So where's the subject? That's what I want to know. Because of the information you give here that he was walking on the north side heading west, presumably to his car parked at CPS, as the narrative goes, it should have also captured the male subject. And that's the point I'd like to make here. This witness encounter is shaky just due to this language, bloody and muddy. Okay. did investigators find those bloody and muddy clothing? Like, there's just no link to Allen here. This is, oh, this witness, we can place this witness here by this video. No details how we made that leap at 3:57. Therefore, their encounter is valid.
Are there problems with the way these identifications are being made? Those are questions that have to be asked to really develop whether or not there's the ability to challenge this.
Multiple witnesses placed a man resembling Allen near the Mananhai Bridge, where he allegedly encountered the girls just after 2 p.m. About 2 hours later, one woman told police she drove by a man on the side of the road who was wearing a blue-colored jacket, blue jeans, and was muddy and bloody. Allen's wife, the document says, confirming to authorities he owns a similar jacket.
But I have to say that I still have a lot of questions here. I don't quite get why they interviewed him in 2017. He places himself at the scene, says he was there, he was walking there, generally resembles the descriptions they've been given, although that has changed over time. And only now in 2022 do they get that search warrant to go to his home. They find the weapon that he's had apparently since 2001. And you do wonder, well, why didn't they do that in 2017? We don't have all the answers yet, and we may get them.
But why?
Oddly, the defense actually seemed happy that it was released. They keep saying, see, now this will show you that there's very little there. I mean, look, prosecutors typically don't like this sort of stuff being released, right? They say, we want to hold it all for trial, etc. But, look, the defense is going to get it anyway. This was actually a motion made by media organizations that say it's in the public interest, and the judge agreed, saying it is in the public interest to release this, but it was interesting that the defense actually seemed to support it.
And Dan, I want to bring Brad back in about something that you said, because, Allen, as you said, Dan, in 2017, authorities talked to him, and then again in 2022. What do you make of the things that he has, what do you read into what he has allegedly said to officials?
Well, he has been consistent. He put himself at the scene on the bridge at the time this crime occurred. He then repeated that again in 2022. It's just sort of beyond me in these 5 years in a place that's very remote with a limited number of people that could possibly have done this, that it took this long.
So many questions